Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel where we break down cybersecurity concepts in simple terms. Today's agenda is understanding ISO 27000 clause 6.2 and 6.3. We'll also discuss some of the mandatory documents that auditors look to satisfy clause 4. So let's dive into it. This is the part 3 of my ISO 27001 clause 6 video. If you haven't watched my part 1 and part 2 video of clause 6, I would recommend go watch that as well. 6.2 Information Security Objectives and Planning to Achieve them. 6.2 focuses on ensuring that your organization sets the security objectives and then set a plan aside of how you're going to meet your objectives. That is specific to information security objectives. For example, let's look at this slide. I'm using this template as an example to explain the objective and the planning of 6.2 clause. Let's take the same example of my online delivery app that my company is owning. In that case, my first objective is to ensure that I have secure payment transaction. So that becomes my objective. There could be many other objectives, like they could be to reduce the app vulnerabilities, to ensure that I have proper policies in place, ensuring that there is a good background verification of employees as well. So there could be many objectives. I'm just taking one example here. So the security objective that my organization currently is having is to ensure that we have a secure payment transaction. Now this should be in alignment with the policy. So I mentioned consistency with the policies aligns with the payment security policy that I have in my organization. Every objective that you have should be ensured that it is being measured. So how will I measure that my objective is being met or not met? I will ensure that the transactions, that is the fraudulent transaction, should be less than or equal to 5 per month. Now you may ask, is it okay to have less than 5 fraudulent transaction in an organization? Absolutely no. But why do we take this buffer? I'm just taking a hypothetical situation and saying it is less than or equal to 5. It depends on every organization, however you want to define the security of your organization for that matter. But why do we take that buffer of saying, okay, 1 or 2 fraudulent transaction is fine? That's because it's not possible to have 100% security, right? No one is perfect in this world. So we take this buffer of having less than 5 fraudulent transaction per month. And then you have to ensure that the risk and the requirement references. What is the risk? It is a compliance risk. So you just mentioned that. And if you have any risk highlighted, you can mention that risk as well. And then very important, who will be responsible? Remember in my risk management video, I had told that ensure that there is a risk owner. And here also I'm saying it is ensure that you have a person assigned to this objective. Whenever there is a person assigned, then he becomes responsible and then it becomes his responsibility to ensure that this objective is being met. Okay, and to meet this objective, what are the resources that you would need? You would need a secure payment gateways, you would need audit, you would need people with the skill set, and so many other, you need the budget and so many things. So you can jot them down under the resources that is needed. Next, always ensure that you have a target date. In my document here, I have mentioned that it is Q1 2026. I'll be completing this. I'll be meeting this objective. But see, even in life, whenever you have any dream or any target in your life, make sure you just put a date to it. It could be a year, month, or maybe next 5 years or 2 years, 3 years. Have a target date. What happens when you have a target date? You start working towards it. You try to ensure that you meet the target date. Then once you have the target date set, you have the owner, you also need to make sure that you have the right evaluation method. Anything in life, whether you are saving money or you're doing a marathon, you have to make sure that you evaluate and see, are you making the right progress? Say, if you're saving money, every month you sit and check, okay, how much money have I saved for this month? Have I done over expenditure this month? This kind of evaluation will help you to get better. So it is and it'll give you an information of where exactly you're standing, whether you're meeting the objective or not. So in this case, how do you ensure that your objective is being met? You can just perform an audit and check whether the objective is being met or not. Your incident reports can tell you, okay, how many such incidents have come. So these kind of audits help. Now let's go back and read this objective with the example that I've given here. The organization shall establish information security objective at relevant functions and levels. What does this mean, relevant functions and levels? You will have different functions or different departments for that matter in your organization. So every department ensure that this objective is being planned and is being executed. Okay, like HR department, maybe the HR can say, okay, we don't have the background verification currently done in our organization. Then that becomes your objective, to ensure that you have the right people recruited in your organization. So the production, the marketing can have certain objectives. So ensure that every relevant functions and levels, you have these security objectives. The information security objectives shall, now it's giving you some points of what are the requirements here. Be consistent with the information security policy. Your company will have an information security policy. So ensure that it is in alignment with the information security policy. For example, here we saw that our objective was to ensure that we make secure payment transaction, and we had mentioned this in our payment security policy. Be measurable. Remember what I said? Ensure that you have some measures in place. Okay, you just can't say, okay, we have this objective. No, you should be able to measure it. For example, if a company says, okay, by this 2026 quarter 2 we'll be certified, then okay, how are you measuring it? Do you have the right audits? What are your audit findings? Make sure that we don't have any findings in it. Make sure we have those kind of measurements should be there. Take into account application information security requirements and results from risk assessment and risk treatment. So it's always better to keep a track of all. Remember, in my previous video, I had told you how you identify the risk and how you mitigate it. So objectives should be in alignment with the risk register as well. Because you will get a lot of input from your risk register that you can add here into your objectives, and be monitored. Just have a regular review and see, okay, are we meeting it? Are we not meeting it? How are we progressing on the objective? Be communicated. Inform your functional teams, your departments, that this is the security objectives that we have defined for your department, and this is how we are going to meet. It has to be communicated. If it has not been informed to the relevant member, for example, here we had the responsible party. He was the payment security lead. So you have to inform him, see, this is the objectives that we have defined for your team, and this is how you're going to mitigate it, and let us know how you want to plan it. So this kind of communication should go. The next says, be updated as appropriate. Check with the latest technologies, with the latest requirements. So be updated as appropriate, whatever is applicable. I'm not saying that you should have the latest things in your organization, but ensure that we're at least being compliant. Be available as documented information. So this should be a document. It should be available, documented and communicated, because when the auditors come for audit, they will ask you to show your objective and planning document. Okay, the organization shall retain documented information on the information security objectives. So it says that you have to retain the documented information. Whatever you have in your information security objectives, just ensure that it is well documented. When planning how to achieve its information security objectives, so whenever you plan how you're going to achieve these information security objectives, the organization shall determine what will be done, what resources will be required, who will be responsible. See, we have put right what will be done, who will be responsible, what resources are required, when it will be completed, and how the results will be evaluated. All these things should be documented in the information security objectives and planning template. I hope this is very clear now. Clause 6.3, planning of changes. It says that when an organization determines the need for changes to the information security management system. See, your company will evolve with time. New businesses will come in, some businesses will just fade away. So it is an evolving process. What this clause says is, as your business evolves, ensure that you also make the changes in your information security management system. The changes shall be carried out in a planned manner. It says that whenever you have any changes made to your information security management system, you ensure that it is carried out in a planned phase. Now, what do you mean by a planned manner? You know that any changes, right, in an organization, whether it is a technical change or any policy update, whatever changes that you do, you have to ensure that you follow a process called the change management process. Changes could be anything from updating policies, introducing new technology, or even changing key suppliers. The point is, do not do anything ad hoc. You need to have a formal process. Now let's see how we are going to implement this clause. First, define what is the scope of the change to the control, and then you establish a good change management process. Now, how do you establish that you have a good change management process? Okay, say you first have to document what are the changes that you're going to implement. So let's call it as a CR, the change request. Then you have to define who's going to do what. The roles and the responsibilities should be defined. Who will approve this change? Who is going to implement this change? Okay, when the change will be implemented? Do we need to give any downtime for that? So this kind of proper planning has to be done. And what is the backup plan? If this change fails, then how are you going to roll back, or a backup plan? Right? Then you assess the risk and the impact. How much risk is it going to cause if it fails? Impact it is going to cause. Then you have to also communicate to everyone before you do this change. Okay, on this time, such and such change window, we are going to implement this change, and these are the implications of the change. This is what the new change will look like. This is the benefit of the change. You have to also give the reason as to why you're implementing this change, right? And after the change is implemented successfully, ensure that you test and monitor. Keep the change for some duration of time to see how it is performing. This is the entire process of how exactly you need to implement a change in an organization. So in this video, we talked about clause 6.2 and clause 6.3. In my next video, we will move to a brand new clause, which is clause 7. Until then, stay tuned. Thank you.